Shalom, shalom. My name is Prince Moshe, and I'm your hostess with the mostest. Like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to push that notification bell so you can be so you can get notifications every time a new video come on. So yesterday I did a video on the flood. It's called As the Days of Noah. My comments is off and stuff, so I can't link it into the comments, but I'm still kind of learning how to figure this out. But anyway, if you would like to donate to my cause, a worthy cause, the link is in the bio. But yesterday I was talking about the flood in Vermont, and I didn't really get to, go into detail. I just kind of did a video on it. But as I began to ponder on it, Vermont is the 14th. There was 13 original colonies. And so Vermont was the 14th state to join the Union, aside from the 13 colonies, the first 13 colonies. And so I was looking at, the number 14, basically, with Vermont being the 14th state to join the Union. But the thing that I want to talk about is is that the ironic thing about this the ironic thing about it is that Vermont, has a special history. Let's just say that. You know what I mean? Because when you really do the history on America, some of them say it was founded on the Constitution, but when you really go back and do the history, the America was founded on occultism. That's why, when you look at the Pentagon, it's a pentagram. So it's a lot of Freemason stuff that Washington D.C. was built on the design of Freemasonry. But the thing is that, when you understand history, you understand that the forefathers adopted, basically the Egyptology. That was the religion, occultism, that, which is where Freemasonry comes from. And so, as slavery was a big part of, the building of America. At first, it started out with indentured servants, who was buying their way over in America after the British and the French and the Portuguese and them, the nations involved in the slave Atlantic trade, had came to America. And so a lot of the Germans and things like that, the other nations, Ireland and all of them, they were coming over as indentured servants. And that's why the 13th Amendment says that no man shall be made to do involuntary hold on, let me look it up for you, and then so I can read it to you. Excuse my dogs in the background. Hi. Go sit down. Hi. Say go sit down. Hold on. It didn't give me what I wanted. Hold on just a minute. Had a little distraction. So the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution provides that neither slavery nor involuntary servitude except as punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to its jurisdiction. And so you have to understand that that a lot of people came over as indentured servants, and then you had the slaves, which is where our ancestors came from. But like I said yesterday when I was reading, when I was talking about the flood, I just want to read some things for you, and then I'm gonna show you why the number 14 is so important. So this is a small state with a big story, Vermont history, with evidence of indigenous people living on the land extending as far back as the 13,000 years. Vermont history is rich, shown in native encampments, centuries-old churches and synagogues, agriculture, farmsteads, downtowns with Orient architects, and enduring swaths of forest rich with life. The Green Mountain State is bordered by Canada, New York, Massachusetts, New Hampshire. It is 157.4 miles in length, 90.3 miles wide in Canadian border, and 41.6 miles along the Massachusetts border. The Connecticut River forms the eastern border, while the western borders with New York runs down the middle of Lake Champlain for more than half of its length. Vermont modern name comes from Les Monts Verts, which French for Green Mountains, in homage to the 67 mountains that give the landscapes its topography and striking views. Today forecast covers about 70% of Vermont, but it was always this way. Prior to the European settlement, 95% of the state was forested, and by the late 1800s, settlers had cleared 80% of the land. In 1609, Samuel D. Champlain's journeyed into the Champlain Valley, where the native allies formed the first documented European expedition. By the 18th century, parts of the land was staked out by both British and French settlers. In 1763, the British victory over the French in the Treaty of Paris put the land in English hands. The early charters and land patents, particularly the New Hampshire grants from 1749 and 1764, had a lasting effect on the settlements patterns in the southern part of what would become Vermont. With the fountains of the United States, with the formation of the United States of America, the territory claimed through grants by both New Hampshire and New York became the independent Republic of Vermont. It remained a sovereign republic for 14 years until March 4th, 1791. Now, 14 years, and this is the 14th state in the United States. So remember the number 14. The number 14 is important. When it became the first state to join the Union following the ratification of the United States Constitution, about 645,000 people called Vermont home and enjoy more than 1,400 miles of mountain biking trails, countless hiking trails, 55 state parks, 22 state historic sites, and 20 downhill ski areas, thousands of miles of Nordic ski trails, and 1,000 historic covered bridges. Outdoors recreation is a vital part of present-day Vermont culture and economy, accounting for 4.1% of the state's GDP in 2022, the third largest such share in the nation. Vermont is the top producer of maple syrup in the country and is also home to hundreds of dairy farms. Green Mountain Forest boasts the highest concentration of sugar maple in the U.S., painting Vermont's forest rich hues of burning scarlet, blazing orchards, and bright yellow during autumn. Beautiful barns dot byways and black roads, telling the story of Vermont's working lands and agriculture heritage, and inviting travelers to stop in as forest end and enjoying walking trails on farms. Evidence of historic innovation in Vermont can be found statewide across a broad swath of industry. Dorset was home to the first marble quarry in the U.S., opening in 1785. Stratford hosted the nation's largest producer of copper as in the 19th century, active from 1809 to 1958. The first ski town in the U.S. was built in 1934 in Woodstock. Jericho Wilson Snowflake Bentley took the nation's first successful detailed photograph of snowflakes in 1875. Vermont is home to many civil rights firsts. On July 8, 1777, the first constitution of the free and independent state of Vermont was adopted, prohibiting adult slavery. Because of the location between the lake and Champlain and Connecticut River, Vermont was a path enslaved people used to escape to freedom northward in Canada. Basically, the Underground Railroad. The African American Heritage Trail explores Vermont's civil rights roots and black history to honor those who first called the land home. Governor Phil Scott abolished Columbus Day in 2019 and replaced it with Indigenous People Day. Vermont was the first state to pass marriage equality laws. Okay, so, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to stop right there. So, now, let's go back to, I want to go back to, hold on just a second. What does the number 14 represent in the Bible? The meaning of numbers, the number 14. A multiple of 7, 14 partakes of the important, and being double that number implies a double measure of spiritual perfection, to with which it is combined 2 times 7, may, however, being its own significance into its meaning as it does in Matthew 1, where the genealogy of Yeshua HaMashiach, is divided up and given sets of 14. 2 times 7 generations, to being associated with incantations. The number 14 in Yeshua's ancestors. There are 3 sets of 14 generations between and including Abraham and Joseph, husband of Mary. Set 1 is Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Judah, Perez, Hezron, Ram, Aminadab, Nishan, Salem, Boaz, Obed, Jesse, and David. Set 2 is King David, Solomon, Rehoboam, Abjab, Asa, Jehoshaphat, Joram, Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, Hezekiah, Manasseh, Amon, and Joash during the captivity. Set 3 is Joash, captivity, Joshan, Sheletel, Zerubbabel, Abud, Elakam, Azor, Zadok, Acham, Elu, Eleazar, Mathan, Jacob, and Joseph. So, you know, you see it was 3 generations, you know what I mean? Father, Son, and Holy Ghost is what, you know, they say it's the triune, but it's all one. But I mean, you know, you can kind of look at it like that. But in the last generation was like basically like the priesthood, you know, because Eleazar and Zadok was basically, you know, one of the priests. That's why Yeshua was considered the high priest. So all the generations from Abraham to David are 14 generations. From David until the captivity in Babylon are 14 generations. And from the captivity in Babylon until Christ are 14 generations. Matthew 1:1 through 17. Number 14 in the fear of Yahuwah. In the book of Proverbs, the expression the fear of Yahuwah occurs 14 times. Proverbs 1:7, 29, 2:5, chapter 2, verse 5, chapter 8, verse 13, chapter 9, verse 10, chapter 2, verse 27, chapter 14, verse 26, chapter 27, chapter 14, 26, and 27, chapter 15, 16, and 33, chapter 16 and 6, chapter 19 and 23, chapter 22 and 4, and 23 and 27. More info on biblical meanings of 14. The number 14 represents deliverance or salvation. It is used 22 times in the Bible. The term 14 is found 24 times in Scripture. the 14th day of the month is Passover. That's important. You know what I'm saying? We know we had Passover this year, and it's kind of ironic that, you know, it's raining, it's flooding in Vermont, which is the 14th state to join the union, and it joined the union after 14 years. So that's 314s, which is basically the same as the 14 generations of Yeshua HaMashiach. Is the Passover, when Yahuwah delivered the firstborn of Yasharel from death. So we know that, you know what I'm saying, Yasharel is finna be delivered. You know, that's why it's so important for you to be getting into Torah, to be keeping Torah, you know, because if you don't keep Torah, you're not going to make it in. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. You see what I'm saying? That is the qualification. That is the criteria. And it is only through you keeping Torah that you receive grace, because, you know, the Most High knows that so much has been lost. You see what I'm saying? That, you know, we're like a child again, and we're relearning the Torah again. You see what I'm saying? We're learning the new moons and stuff like that. We're learning, you know, on what day it's required to keep the Sabbath, you know, the keeping of the dietary laws and the things of that nature. So you see the 14th day, the feast days, which is found in Leviticus 23, which is the Sabbath day, which is Passover, Pesach, you know, which is the Feast of Weeks, or the Feast of Fruits, which is the Feast of Weeks, and then it's the Feast of Trumpets, because it's 5 of them, really, actually 5 that we're really required to keep. Then you got Purim, you know, which is, you know, one that we observed too, which is when Yasharel was delivered through Esther from Haman. And so, you know, you got the Feast of Trumpets, then you got the Day of Atonement, and then you got Sukkot. And then, you know, we keep Hanukkah, you know, which is basically something like, I don't want to say Christmas, but, you know, it's something of the nature. We celebrate, you know, the birth of Yahusha. And so, you know, if you see this 14th, this number 14 is important. The 14th day of the first month is the Passover, when the Most High delivered the firstborn of Israel from death. Some 430 years earlier, on the night of day 14 of the month Nisan, the Most High made 2 covenant promises to Abraham. The first covenant promise concerned his physical seed, Isaac, and his descendants. The second promise concerned Yeshua HaMashiach and the sons of Elohim who would come through him, who would shine like the stars of heaven. Matthew 13:43. On the day portion of Nisan 14, the Most High confirmed the promise with a special covenant sacrifice. After these things, the word of Yahuwah came to Abraham in a vision, saying, "Do not be afraid, Abraham, I am your shield, your exceedingly great reward." But Abraham said, "Yahuwah Most High, what will you give me, seeing I go childless? My house is Eleazar of Damascus." And behold, the word of Yahuwah came to him, saying, "The one shall not be your heir, but one who will come from your own body shall be your heir," which is Yahushua HaMashiach. He came through Isaac and Jacob. He basically came through Yasharel. Then he brought him outside and said, "Look now toward heaven and count the stars, if you are able to number them." And he said to him, "So shall your descendants be." So one day 14 of the first month, on the 14th day of the first month, Nisan, in 30 AD, Yahushua HaMashiach, the most Elohim, manifested in the flesh, the only begotten Son of Elohim, the Father, and the Lamb of Elohim, to take away the sins of the world, and crucified as the perfect sacrifice to save mankind from sin. 7 represents completion. Thus 7 plus 7, 14, indicates a double completion. So there has been a double completion in the land. That's what the flood signifies. It's a double completion. The first completion was Yeshua HaMashiach's ministry in the flesh was completed. The second completion was that Yeshua's sacrifice ended, fulfilled the need for animal sacrifices. So now we're going to go over to, I had another one. What does the number 14 represent in Bible reference? and then I'm a close out. Before tackling the symbolism of the number 14 in the Bible, let us first consider the number 7. Since 14 is a multiple of 7 in Hebrew, the word for 7 is Sheba. But this word also means promise, oath, or covenant. So the Most High is finna fulfill his promise, the oath and the covenant that he made to our forefathers. This is what the sign is, the flooding of Vermont. It's a twofold, two-edge, destruction and salvation. You see what I'm saying? But this word also means promise, oath, or covenant. Hence in Genesis 12, 22, 15, 16 was, we find the Most High swearing, or literally 70, which the 7th day, 70, promised completion in Abraham, that because the latter did not waver in his faith in Yahweh and was willing to sacrifice his son Isaac, Elohim would greatly multiply his seed and bless all the families of the earth through it. And that's another quote that goes to present thyself as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable. And that's what Abraham did when he presented Isaac on the altar as a sacrifice. He presented himself as a living sacrifice through faith. You see what I'm saying? And that's what me and my brothers do. The Israelites do. We present ourselves as living sacrifices, meaning that we have become like little children and are relearning the Torah and relearning what is required of us. No father rewards you without instructions. That's why some people shouldn't really teach this book, because they try to say that it's a symbolic meaning when it is a symbolic meaning, but there is a literal meaning too, because El Shaddai, Elohim, Yahu Savo does not change. He's the same today, tomorrow, and forevermore. So if he did it then, he's gonna do it now. You see what I'm saying? It does have a lot to do with the spiritual aspect, but it has also so much to do with the physical too, because he told us in Deuteronomy 30 that that he would rescue us again if we return to him. So therefore he called the place Beersheba, because which David, he had a child by Bathsheba, because the two of them took an oath. So they made a covenant at Beersheba. The number 7 in the Bible denotes perfection, completion. Also, the Most High assurance of oath that his word and purpose stands firm. That's why the word says that his word shall not return back void. So whatever the word says, that's what it means. You see what I'm saying? If he said that we were supposed to keep the covenant, that's what he mean. A lot of people, under this Christian doctrine, believe that, the Torah has been done away with, and that's not true. It's always been grace. The Torah has always been in existence. You know what I'm saying? And we've always been punished when we didn't keep Torah. You see what I'm saying? So his word and purpose stands firm. Accordingly, the number 14, the second multiple of 7, simply reinforces this completion or seals it in concrete by doubling it. Jacob worked for Laban 7 years and received Leah through trickery, and then worked another 7 years or 14 years in all to obtain Rachel as his wife. So we know that Yehoshua is coming back for his bride, that the bridegroom is coming back for his bride. You see what I'm saying? When Solomon's first temple was finished, the dedication feast lasted 7 days and 7 more days, even 14 days. On the 8th day, after the second 7th day of period, he sent the people away and they blessed the king. The most significant use of the number 14 is found in the date Nisan 14. On the day occurred the deliverance of Yasharel from bondage in Egypt. So where are we at now? We're in Egypt. As well as the deliverance of the firstborn from the death by means of the blood of the lamb sprinkled on the doorpost. So the firstborn, which is going to be the sons of God, the elect. You know what I mean? Let me show you. Hold on just a second. I'm gonna take you to it. We're gonna go to Romans. We're gonna go to Romans 28 and 29. Romans 8 and 28. But we're gonna start at we can start at 28. And we know that all things work together for the good of those, for the good to them that love Elohim. Together for the good to them that love Elohim, to them who are the called according to his purpose. For whom he did foreknew, he also did predestine to be conformed to the image of his son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. So he's coming back for the firstborn. Selah. On that day occurred the deliverance of Yasharel from bondage to Egypt, as well as the deliverance of the firstborn from the death by means of the blood of the lamb sprinkled on the doorpost. The event of paramount importance foreshadows the future deliverance of the entire world of mankind from slavery to sin and death through the sacrifice of Yahuwah HaMashiach. The Jews, or Yahudah, were commanded to keep this observance called the Passover until the advent of HaMashiach. Well, they say advent of Christ the Messiah, the Lamb of Elohim who takes away the sin of the world. Furthermore, we find in the first chapter of Matthew additional reference to the number 14 in addressing the genealogy. So basically it's confirming the same thing, but the most important thing, and I'm going to close on that note, is that it signified the deliverance of Yasharel. You see what I'm saying? Because, you know, the Most High knows that, you know, we can't protect ourselves, that we can't defend ourselves. We don't have an army. You know, we can't deliver ourselves out of the captivity and the bondage. So it's going to take a force greater than us. And that's what happened in Egypt then. And basically what's going to happen now. You know what I mean? This too is what Revelations is about. You see what I'm saying? So you really have to go do your studying. But man, I'm telling you, that flood in Vermont is significant, man. You know what I'm saying? You know, you can go do further detail, you know, or research into it on your own. But like, share, and subscribe, man. And if, like I said, you would like to support a worthy cause, you know, the description is in the bio. Cause see, the world ain't gonna never end. You know, only this world is gonna end. The world, when it say the world, you know, it's talking about the world of man. You see what I'm saying? But the world of Elohim is gonna still exist. His kingdom is gonna still exist, meaning that, you know, his laws and his statutes is gonna continue. Let me show you real quick. We're gonna go to Matthew. We're gonna go to Matthew. Matthew 24, 30. Let's go to 30. So he said in verse 34, verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all things have been fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. So not one jot or one tittle of the word is going to pass away. And so when he's saying heaven and earth, you know what I'm saying, that's symbolic to the body and the mind. You know what I'm saying? Because it was given to man once to live and then to die. You see what I'm saying? So your mind is in the heavens, your body is on the earth. So when, you know, when it talks about, you know, that the earth and the heaven shall pass, it's talking about you. You know what I mean? But as long as you keep the covenant, then you'll be preserved. But if you're not keeping the covenant, he not going to preserve you. That's like when you preserve food. You know what I'm saying? You can do preservatives. You know, I remember when my granddaddy used to can. My grandma and my granddaddy used to can peaches and stuff back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Them peaches will still be good for months. You know what I'm saying? And that's the same thing the Torah does. You know, and I hope that the example that I gave to you was sufficient enough for you. So like, share, and subscribe, man. You know, join the channel, man. You know what I'm saying? Help me build this channel so we can reach more people. You know what I mean? We can reach more lives. You know what I'm saying? Like for the algorithm, you know, share it to a friend so they can subscribe, man. We can build this channel authentically and we can keep reaching out to the world, because it's not gonna end, man. It ain't gonna end here. You know what I'm saying? It's only gonna end over here, and then it's gonna transition somewhere else. You see what I'm saying? And so, you know, if it get too bad, you know, where we ain't able to escape, you're gonna need a savior. You hear the train? His train fills the room. You're gonna need his Yeshua. You're gonna need it. You know what I'm saying? So shalom, peace and blessings.